Hello everyone, I received my ink flight box yesterday. Of course, I already opened it and looked at it, but I wanted to share what is inside and swatch the inks with you. And that's what I'm going to do right now. So this is what it looks like when you open the box upside down. Let's turn it around, put this away. As you can clearly see, I already looked at it. Let's take the sticker first. This is, and the paper maybe, so we can read about it. This one says, the first Inktopus sticker of the year is a cute chibi version of our cephalopod mascot that we use as the ink journal profile picture on social media. And I think they changed it recently, like to this one. But I actually want to put that sticker, instead of putting it on a notebook or in a notebook, I want to put this on here. This is my nib box for now. Let's see how long that stays that way, or maybe if my collection grows, then maybe they need to move. But I have all the nibs that I have spare in here at the moment. So now, instead of, my husband thought this was part of the kitchen and I was looking for it all over, it has a dedicated fountain pen sticker, so everybody knows this belongs to Mom. And then, so we get ink, but the item that is included in the box besides the ink samples is this Usari notebook. It has 8mm lines. It is lined. And those are quite some big lines. A5 size, 96 sheets, made in Japan. And then this is what it says on the back, Nakabayashi. It doesn't say what specific paper is in here. Probably can research that. It feels very much like bank paper or the OK Fools paper from Tsubame that we also use as the ink collection cards. I think, no, I don't know where they are in my stash. I want to do writing samples on this and maybe do some ink testing on the back. Not sure what I would use this for at the moment. I have a writing journal, long form writing journal, and I'm not someone who fills 20 million pages. Where was I? Yes, I want to do a writing sample. It says 96 sheets. I'm not someone who writes pages and pages in my long form journal, so I don't need one right now, and I still have several books that I want to use for that as well. I'm currently thinking about two things. I am trying to keep better track of my incoming and outgoing Happy Mail, not necessarily when I send something out and when I get something, but more who I'm writing with, and if I'm exchanging more letters with one specific person, like what did I already send them, what is their specific hobbies, maybe even what did I ask, but then I don't want to copy the letter. So maybe that's something that I can use this for. I've briefly thought about using a traveler's notebook insert, but I feel like I need the A5 width. If you have something like that, leave a comment down below and let me know what you use, what notebook you use, and how you document that. And then the other thing that I'm thinking about is having a reading journal. Again, I'm not going to write any reviews, more like keeping track of what authors I like, what books of those authors I already read, and then just keeping kind of like little stats. But even if I don't use it right now, I either would give it away at some point or maybe even cut it down and put it in my traveler's notebook. Because this I can just cover up and then use like that. But let's not talk about this notebook so much. Let's talk about the ink. This is this month. They didn't have to travel far to find good fountain pen ink. This is Anderillium, the brand, and they are producing handcrafted inks using sustainable, environmentally friendly materials. The team is passionate about protecting the oceans and wildlife, and it shows in the ink color names. So we have Colossal Squid Dark, Cuttlefish Brown, Ringed Octopus, Blue Ringed Octopus, Vampire Squid Red, and you can't really see them right now, but I'm going to put them there so I can use them for my... Sometimes I wonder if these are actually really 2 milliliters. Then Octopus Orange, Indigo Bunting Blue, and Loon Black. So it's quite dark, which I'm not 100% sure that I like, but we will see. I am going to open up my swatch book right here. I hope I still have enough prepped. And then I'm going to start swatching. Do I start here? No, I'm gonna start on a new page, and then I'm just gonna backfill. I am switching to a voiceover because I just cannot keep myself short, and I cannot talk and swatch inks at the same time. I'm taking my hat off and applaud every one of you who can, because it's something that I do not have down yet. So I am swatching my inks on 2 different media or papers. One is the coal O-ring cards from the Well-Appointed Desk, and the other is Tomoe River 52 GSM. And the first ink that I'm swatching is Anderillium Colossal Squid Dark. This is, as the description says, a dark bluish teal looking black, and that's exactly what it is. It looks more like a dark green to me on the coloring paper, but on the Tomoe River I see the dark bluish teal. It's not really exciting. However, I am really starting to fall in love with colors like this. I think one of my favorite colors of the last year was Robert Oster Black Violet, and that's also a very similar ink. It's really dark. At first glance it appears black, but then you look a second time and then you see that it is actually not. That's something that I really enjoy. So even though many of these inks that are in this ink flight you would see as not very exciting, or they're not setting themselves apart a lot, for me most of them are very usable and are on the list of I would love to see how this ink performs in a pen. The next ink that I'm swatching is the Anderillium Cuttlefish Brown. This is supposed to be a color shifting sepia inspired by the clouds of ink that cuttlefish deploy to evade predators. And well, so now I'm looking at my swatch while I am filming the voiceover, and I don't really see that it is color shifting. Maybe in the places where I put down a lot of ink, you can see some blacker halo around. This is definitely a brown that I'm not a fan of. I did not enjoy the sepia black from Octopus Fluids as well. I put that in a pen because I really wanted to see how that looked, and it wasn't. I used it, but I wasn't drawn to using that pen at all. I know that I previously said I wanted to test browns that are not leaning towards red, but it seems like I am enjoying those browns definitely more than these greenish, tintish, cuttlefish black browns that from the swatch before. So I sped it up, but now I can't even keep up with my speed of swatching. The Andurilium Blue Ringed Octopus is just a regular turquoise, I would call that. This color ink is formulated to mimic the vibrant electric blue of the venomous Blue Ringed Octopus. Yeah, there's nothing more to say. It's a really nice ink. It's definitely one that I can see myself using in a pen. I recently swatched, without filming myself, several inks that are similarly shaded. And so I felt like I've been bombarded with these, but not in the ink flight. I have Diamine Aqua Lagoon that is a little bit more green in my recently swatched ones. I do have the Yuki Akari from Sailor Shikiori that is a little bit lighter, but they're all similar. And so I felt like, wow, this is repetitive, but it's not because of the ink flight, but because of inks that I had in my stash. And then Andurilium Vampire Squid Red is definitely one of those inks. It says on the description, if you want a bright red that would make Dracula envious, inject Vampire Squid Red into your pen. That is one of those that I feel like we have been getting in the ink flights in the past months. There is the Krishna Centaur, as well as the Octopus Fluids Brillantrot, that are very similar in their tone, very similar in the coloring. I guess if you want to give people an overview of an ink brand, you should include this, but it's kind of like a bummer that it's always basically the same shade of ink. So I don't know. And especially it's one of those teacher reds that I'm not normally drawn towards. So let's turn the page after I have waited for these inks to dry. Guess what? I am almost done with this swatch book, and I am going to switch into a different size so that at least I think I'm going to make it work that 7 inks fit on one page. That means that when I'm swatching the ink flights, I will not have to turn it. Yep, that's cool, isn't it? This orange, the Andurilium Flapjack Octopus Orange, is very dark, and I'm really curious to see how that actually looks in a pen, because I have had oranges that just didn't really show up in inks so much. Not inks, pens. What am I saying? And this says, there's just one sentence that describes this ink. It says, the adorable orange flapjack octopus feeds on the ocean floor like a robot vacuum. That's cool. It's like one of those, well, now I don't know the English name. I shouldn't even talk about that. These fishies that, like, window cleaner fish, that's what we called them. Scheibenwischer fishies. When we had a fish tank, we would have those to clean the windows, the walls of the aquarium. Yeah. Entering non-English speaking territory, because I don't even know the German words for these. So I probably should just shut up. This is very, very bright. And it's a nice orange, but again, it's also one of those colors that we had in, I think we had one in the, with Octopus Fluids. There was one orange that was similar. Yeah, the Octopus Fluids orange is also an orange. That actually has a lot more character now that I compare it. This one is just very flat, very orange, which isn't a bad thing, to be for sure. And then the second to last color, this one I really liked. Not that I didn't like the other ones, but that one was one of those, oh, wow, I like how this looks, inks. The Indigo Bunting Blue. It split a bit into different dye segments, or chromo shading, if you want to call it that, on my coloring card, as well as in on the Tomoe River paper, and it's definitely it's one of those cloudy days inks that just look very interesting and would look good in a pen, maybe or maybe not. I'm always drawn to these colors, and then I put them in the pen and I'm like, well, it's blue, a lighter blue, almost towards a gray blue, and then there's nothing that's super interesting about it. That's so funny. However, while we're talking about the ooh ah and umming about inks, well, let me just and ah about this one. This, when I read the label, and it is called Common Loon Black, I was like, ugh, a black. Well, there's one color that I don't like, but this is actually my favorite color of this whole bunch. I love the way it looks. It's not a black, that's for sure. But it's another one of those almost black looking, appearing to be black at first glance, but then there's so much color and so much story behind that it's, yeah, intriguing. I'm not really sure what I would say is the color behind it. Maybe a red, I think it's warm, a warm gray, leaning towards red tones. Maybe that's what we can say. And I really liked this ink, and that one is one of those that I wish I would put into a fountain pen right away. And it's probably going, if it's not making the cut for this next month, then it's going to be making the cut for the month after. I want to see how this writes in a pen. Let's use my fountain pens that I have currently inked and look at the notebook. I think I wanted to go on a tangent earlier, and I will hopefully do that soon. But before I do that, I really like the paper in this notebook. It reminds me a lot of the Tsubame ink collection cards. If you have those in your stash, then this is very similar. I also have a Tsubame notebook, and the paper that they use for the ink collection cards as well as for the notebook is called OK Fool's paper. It's a proprietary paper that by Tsubame, but it reminds me a lot of this. This one is definitely coated. Your nibs glide easily over the paper. It is off-white or almost creamish. It's right on the verge of almost cream, not really bright white. Off-white then, of course. And the colors are very vibrant on the paper. There is some shading to be seen. I don't think that the chromo shading that we can see on some of the other papers is happening a lot here, but yeah, it's great. I think, yeah, I really like it, and if I had a use for it right now and I knew what I was going to do with it, then I would certainly start using it right away. I don't have a use for it right now, so I'm not, but it's not one of those books that is going to disappear in my closet and never resurface ever. The writing experience is, as I said, it's really nice. The pens glide easily over the paper. It's not as slippery smooth as Tomoe River paper, but as I experience more and more papers, I still like the Tomoe River paper 52 GSM slipperiness, but I can do with a tiny bit less slippery, and I enjoy that even more. And this is very close to that. And what I like about it as well is that the nib width is not, how do I say that? It appears your nib width is what you have on your pen. What I'm trying to say is with Cosmo Air Light paper, for instance, or Cosmo Air paper in general, when you write with it, it almost appears as if your nib size sizes up one. So instead of your fine nib writing like a fine nib, it writes more like a medium nib. This is not happening with this paper. So your nib sizes are true to size when you use this paper. Yeah, see how I can say it now. I used various different pens just to see how they would write, how it would feel. The Pelicano Junior is very juicy and wet, so I wanted to see if the paper could handle that, and I can tell you right now, it totally does. And as you saw while I was swatching, I filmed this while I was waiting for the paper to dry. I then remembered that I wanted to also not just write on this paper, but to just dump some ink on there, and it handled the bigger amounts of ink liquid very nicely. It didn't pill or anything. The paper structure stayed the same, probably because it's coated, or very, very likely because it's coated. But I also noticed, because I used the blue ringed octopus, the indigo bunting blue ink that had some shading properties, chromo shading properties on the other papers. It didn't really appear like that, as you can see in the bottom down here on the notebook paper here. But you can see I turned the page to the other side. It's perfect. There is no, well, maybe a little bit of ghosting, but not even. Like, no bleed through, nothing. So, I am doing my little time lapse where I'm looking for colors that are very similar. You can see I do have quite some in my stash, and most of them are from Inkflights, so they are very, very similar. Maybe that's favorite inks or the favorite colors from Tom. I don't really know. Here you can see I seem to have a lot of the similar shades as the Colossal Squid Dark. What is the closest in lightness and appearance is the Velvet Storm from Robert Oster, but when you look at the writing on the card, then the others are pretty similar as well. Not necessarily the swatches, because maybe the base color is not the same, but when you write with it, sometimes you wouldn't even notice. So here I have these three that might be similar, but the Cuttlefish Brown is a bit colder, I think. Then here is the Blue Ringed Octopus. As I said before, I thought I had very many colors that are similar as this one, but most of them are more green leaning. Yeah. And then here is the bunches of reds that I have that are very similar. The Diamond Red Robin, that was the Inkman 2021, is probably the one that is the least likely or least like that color, but all the other ones are. The Brillantrot from Octopus Ink, as well as the Krishna Santor, were inks from the Inkflight, but the other ones were not. So I don't want to give the impression that all of the cards that you see are from Inkflight boxes. That's not true. I think that the Anderillium orange that we got is the brightest. It's almost leaning more towards red. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how that looks in a pen. And then I think why I am so intrigued by the Indigo Bunting Blue is because I just got the Wearingool Lost for Christmas, which is almost the same shade in blue. And then Common Loon Black, I do not have a single color that compares. So that's the standout color for me for sure. Let me know if you receive the Inkflight. Which one is your favorite color? How did you like it this time? What do you think about the notebook? And if you don't, which one would you put in a pen first? Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you taking the time, and I will see you soon, I think. Goodbye.